All right, well, good morning, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started with today's agent development training. We finished up a 12 series of modules and focused a little bit last week on a few other things. But we've got a couple of one-off things I want to cover over the next couple of weeks. And Steve and I were just talking about what the topic for today should be. And we really felt that we're about 8 weeks into the new contest year and starting to move into some warmer weather. And we really wanted to focus our thoughts and comments today on where we feel everybody's efforts should be focused this time of year. This is a uniquely different time of year in that we don't have an AEP, OEP season going on. We're kind of a few months away from that now, and obviously beginning to prep for what's going to be coming next fall during the coming AEP, OEP season. But sometimes if you're not very intentional about what you're doing this time of year, um, things can slow down if you allow them to. And so we want to spend a little bit of time focused on that. Before I get into that, though, I did have a couple of announcements and things I just wanted to share with you. First of all, for those of you who are working live transfers continue to be a very viable way to engage with new consumers. Just to share some statistics with you from our TVP call this morning, over the last 4 weeks, we had about 21,000 live transfers generated. About 81% of them were actually taken, with about a 23% conversion. So 23% conversion is a very good conversion. You figure, about 1 out of 5 are converting into some sort of a sale. With that type of conversion rate, I think there's a lot of opportunities, that continue to exist this time of year around those live transfers. I will say for our territory team, the affiliate or third party live transfer leads, our taken rate was down a little bit on those. We actually had a 43% taken rate, which means there's a lot of additional leads that are not being taken in our geographies that are on the third party side. When you guys go in and set up your live transfers, you can set up Health Markets branded or you can set up third party, what we call affiliate leads. I would encourage you to take both. I think there is some thought and some commentary and maybe scuttlebutt going around that Health Markets leads are higher quality than the affiliate leads. I will tell you, we're closing Health Markets leads they're within 1% of each other as far as the closing ratio. So I don't think that one is significantly better or worse than the other. I think if you're working live transfers, you want to have both of them on. Just to give you some perspective on those affiliate live transfers, we had about 141 that came in, and we only took about 60 of them. So that's that 43% taken rate. So there are some opportunities around the live transfers if you are wanting to play in that particular space. Now, I want to caution you because live transfers, while they are live bodies who are calling in and looking for something, you know, 4 out of 5 are not converting. And I think it's easy to get head trash and mind a different mindset, a bad mindset when you're working live transfers. So you just have to kind of steel yourself against that. I would also say that live transfers, you can't, in my opinion, be 100% reliant on live transfers. And that's what we're going to talk about a little bit today. What other things can you do other than just sitting behind your computer and waiting for the phone to ring? I think that's a viable option for a certain segment of the week, but I don't want you to be 100% reliant on that. Because as you think about live transfers are a different type of consumer and a different type of lead than a personally developed lead or a referral coming in. A live transfer is going to be, most likely a more transient type of consumer, maybe a little bit lower income. They don't have maybe a financial planner or a CPA or friends and family around them to advise them on where they should go to get, connect with a local agent. They're calling into an 800 number and looking for something. So I just want you to understand those are a viable option. I think it's one arrow in your quiver. But if live transfers are the only arrows in your quiver right now, hopefully today sparks you a little bit to think about what other things could I be doing? What other ways could I be engaging in my local community? How could I dig deep in my backyard and connect and communicate, with consumers and potential clients who might need my services? So I did want to put that commentary in there alongside the idea of working live transfers because I don't want you to be reliant on live transfers. We've got to have other things going on as well. Another big announcement that I wanted to make, some of you who live in Indiana and attended our sales team meeting on Friday were made aware of this, but those of you in Michigan are not yet aware. Health Markets has or undergone some restructuring internally. And part of that restructuring is that we are actually adding another team to our territory. So for those of you who may know and love a gentleman by the name of Mike Wayner, Mike Wayner is a sales leader in the Indianapolis market. He's been here with the organization for 33 plus years. He runs our Indianapolis market. And Mike Wayner and I worked together before 2018 because we were kind of under the same umbrella then. Well, corporate has made a decision that Mike Wayner and his 18 to 20 agents are going to be joining our territory starting immediately. And so I've begun to work with Mike Wayner pretty closely to kind of work through how this transition works and how we can benefit from the work that he's doing and how he can benefit from the resources and things that we have in place. So you're going to start seeing Mike Wayner. It's Wehner is how you spell Mike's last name, and his team starting to integrate into our territory. This does expand our geographic footprint pretty significantly. We historically have been northern Indiana and western Michigan. Now we have an opportunity to move into central and southern Indiana. And my goal is to help Mike really continue to build his business and his team. I think there's a huge opportunity there. Indianapolis is probably the single largest, metropolitan area that we have in our territory now. So I think there are some big opportunities down there. As we move into the rest of the year and have some territory events and things like that, Mike and his team are going to be invited to engage with that. You'll probably see some of them starting to join our ADT sessions and getting involved in SCU with Steve Cavajola, joining the roundtable discussions and things like that. So very exciting. Candidly, this is something I've been hoping for and working towards and praying for 8 years, is that we would have all of Indiana under our umbrella. And so this transition is a culmination of the good work that we're collectively doing and home office recognizing that I think we can offer a lot to that Indianapolis market. So that's a really exciting thing that's happening. I also wanted to just touch briefly on the fact that I am spending a lot of time right now in recruiting efforts. My stated goal this year is to double the size of our team. And I don't know if we'll get to that this year, but I really want to grow. When you look at what we've done over the last number of years, we're barely scratching the surface. In both the Medicare space and the under 65 space, our team collectively wrote less than 2% of the business that was actually written in the markets that we serve. And so we have a huge opportunity. As we grow, it gives us more size and more scale and more ability to garnish resources from corporate to help continue to perpetuate each of your individual businesses. I think sometimes when you think about recruiting or bringing someone else into the business alongside you, there's oftentimes thought of, well, is there enough business for all of us? What about market saturation? I would just point to that 2% number. We are nowhere close to market saturation. And if you know good people, if you have friends and family, I mean, for many of us, this business, this opportunity, and this organization has been a tremendous, tremendous blessing, both financially and professionally. And so I just encourage you guys continue to do outreach around that. I did want to share a slide with you here. So this is the new agent referral bonus. For those of you who aren't aware, Health Markets has actually enhanced this bonus. We moved it up from a $2,500 potential bonus to a $4,500 potential bonus, which is really, really incredible. You guys can see all of this on the Resource Center, but this all started, this new upgrade in the earning potential around the referral bonus started April 1st. So the way this works is if you refer somebody into the business, when they get their first sale, you get a $500 bonus. If they hit 15,000 FYCRs in 13 weeks, you get another 1,000. 38,000 in 26 weeks get you another 1,000. 66,000 in 39 weeks get you another 1,000. And 100,000 FYCRs in their first year get you another 1,000 for a total of a $4,500 bonus. We do have some agents across the country who have earned $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 in this bonus on an annual basis, and that was when it was 2,500. So, our best candidates and the best clients or candidates that we work with, many of you were referred into this business by someone who knew you and thought you might be good at what we do. So I just ask you and encourage you to keep your eyes and ears open around that. Want to make sure that you guys are all focused on keeping, especially as people are looking for new careers and things like that. I am doing some things. We've created a recruiting video that's specific to our territory that I think I shared with all of you last week. I'm also sending out emails to all of my existing clients. We've had some really nice traction with just activating our existing client base. So if you would like to do that, I'd encourage you to take some sort of let them know that we're looking for great people. Many of the people that are a part of our team today were either past clients of mine or referred into the business by people that were clients of ours. And so that's a wonderful way to leverage this as well. So I just ask for your help on it. We're looking for great people, and many of you are great people. So I know you associate with great people. So I'd encourage you to talk to those great people and see if they might like to have a conversation with myself or one of the other leaders in the organization. Um, I also wanted to remind you guys of our Cliff Carthauser best practices monthly sessions. I feel like sometimes these kind of sneak up on us a little bit, but we do have a couple of sessions coming up here. And just to remind you guys how this works, we have a territory session, which is the second Wednesday of every month at noon. When I say territory, that's our territory and Rick Bell's territory. So it's a smaller group and smaller setting, and I am typically the one helping to host those particular events. And then 2 weeks later, on the fourth Thursday of each month, we have our Producer's Edge Strategic Selling and Leadership Series. This is a national series, which again, helping to host an MC. But that next session is on Thursday, the 28th at 11. It's not PM, it's AM. I need to correct that. 11 a.m. Eastern time. So these are about 2 weeks apart. I think these are tremendous opportunities for each of you to sit down with a professional business coach and absorb what Cliff has to share. Cliff has done an incredible job of beginning to understand our business and really diving into things. He is coaching with a lot of our executive sales leaders. He's working directly with Dan Garrison on a number of things. He's working with emerging sales leaders, and then he's working with a lot of agents one-on-one and through these best practices sessions. So I understand that coaching and training and mentoring is not for everyone. I always go back to the reality that anybody who is a true professional in what they do, they have a coach. You look at the top 1 or 2% of any industry, any profession, professional athletes, they all have coaches that pour into them. Right now, I have several coaches that are working in my world, advising me and helping me on different things. You think about most high producing individuals in whatever business or sports arena you want to talk about, they've all got coaches. And so this is one way. I'm making a pretty significant investment the second Wednesday of every month. I'll just tell you guys, I spend over $1,000 a month to pull that off for you. So that's an investment that I'm making back into our business to try to give you resources. And then Health Markets is making a corporate investment to have, Cliff come in for that second one. So I just ask you guys and encourage you, to get involved, put these on your schedule. It's an hour twice a week, and I think there's tremendous value in it. I will tell you, I rarely miss these. I think it's really important to be involved in them. And so I would ask for all of you to start putting this on your schedule and making it part of your sequence. We also have a lot of additional ongoing training that's happening. Obviously, you guys are all here, so you know about our ADTs. For those of you who have eclipsed 10,000 FYCRs, you very well may be engaged with Steve Cavajola in the SCU that happens on a weekly basis. And then Sandra and Tyler are separately hosting new agent roundtable discussions once a week for the brand new agents. So a lot of opportunities for you guys to engage. I would encourage you plug in and engage. One last promotion I'll put out there is for our Jessup Territory YouTube channel. There's a lot of great content. We're pushing over, well, close to 100 hours worth of content that's on there from past trainings and interviews that I've done and things. So I just think that's another wonderful way to continue to immerse yourself in the business and continue to learn. This is not an easy business. And I think many of you on the call are beginning to realize that or have realized that. But if you can build some systems and processes and you can get things rolling and you can get leads flowing into your system in a variety of ways, I promise you it does get easier and easier as time goes on to have those 6, 8, 10 appointment client meetings you need a week to really, make things happen. So, do you guys have any questions about any of those announcements? The restructuring, the recruiting bonus, Cliff Carthauser, any of the other training platforms that we're offering at this point? Is there anything I can answer at all? And thank you to those of you who do engage, because many of you are here every single week or on these events and calls, and I really appreciate your engagement. I will tell you, the most successful agents in our business engage at the highest level. There's just no substitute for that. Sandra?
I just got a message. Is there a recruiting bonus for a referral from a sub agent or as an assistant?
Um, so Health Markets does not have one, but I would be willing to put something together around that.
Just a thought. Who doesn't want to come work with this fabulous team?
Yeah, Health Markets does not have anything for because sub agents and assistants are technically not really. I mean, you're connected to Health Markets, but indirectly, right? You're working
Mhm.
for your sponsor agent.
Right.
But I would, at a territory level, be willing to put something out there around that. Um, yeah, let me work
Help
on
us
something.
grow.
So I will tell all of you moving forward, I will put something in place around that. So if you happen to be a sub agent or an assistant and you do refer someone into the business, let's log that, keep track of it, and
Mhm.
I'll work through getting some bonus payouts or some sort of a bonus structure set up for that. And I think I can probably follow the corporate Health Markets, but I want to talk to my leadership team about that too and just make sure everybody's on board with that.
Sounds good.
Yeah, that sounds really good. Any other questions? Okay. So I'm going to dive into, some of the content we put together today. And Steve and I had just brainstormed a little bit. I think a lot of you may be stuck in a little bit of a quagmire around what should I be doing right now? What should I be doing? And I would go back and say, everything that I believe needs to happen in the business starts with two questions. You guys have heard me say this before, but number one, do I have a cookbook? Do I have a plan? And am I executing that plan to design? I think many people shoot from the hip. They just get up in the morning and think about what they're going to do that day. There's no plan, there's no structure, there's no accounting, there's no documentation of what's actually gotten accomplished, and there's no ability to look back from a future date and see what was actually accomplished. I'm a big believer that there's a science to the business and there's an art to the business. I can't teach you the art. You'll figure out the art maybe. Some people are way more artful in the business than others, and that's okay. But there is a science to the business, and the science is something that I can teach you. And science really comes down to what should you be doing? And I think at its core, when I think about this business, there are three things that you should be spending at least 35 to 40 hours on a week. And those three buckets of time are scheduling appointments, running appointments, and marketing your business. It's not rocket science, but if you're not spending at least 35 to 40 hours a week on those three activities, I think that's where you've got to start. And you can use some of the tools that we have provided for you. I'm going to share my screen again here. We have a number of tools, and I'm not going to go through these in great depth again, but I had pulled them up for us. Let me see here. So the first thing that I think if you're struggling, you should go back to is your goals and game plan. Figure out what is your dream and what are your primary goals, and when you're going to be hitting tier two status if you're a tier one agent today. Um, there's a lot of questions in here that really define that cookbook and what you're going to be doing. Some of the things that we ask you to do in this is to leverage the performance tracker spreadsheet and to figure out which five or six activities are you willing to engage in on a weekly basis. Um, I also then think you've got to figure out what percentage of your income you're going to put into Lead Connect to get the company matching. And then from that performance tracker spreadsheet, and thank you to those of you that are using the PTS. Many of you are using this to track yourself each week so that you have numbers to look back at so that we can analyze the data, do the science, and figure out where you're struggling. Not everyone is doing that though. And I would tell you, I think starting with beginning to build out a plan around activity and then starting to track that on the performance tracker spreadsheet are two of the most important things you can do if you're floundering or you're struggling right now. We highlighted here in this particular box some of the big questions that I think you need to be asking yourself that are related to the PTS. So, how many direct contacts will you achieve each week? How many people are you going to get your information to each week? This is the time of year where we have to do more plowing because people are not lining up to talk to us like they are during AEP and OEP. And that plowing involves not only plowing, but planting seeds along the way. And sometimes those seeds aren't going to come to a full harvest until a later season, but that's okay. That's how it works. I think you've got to think about how many referrals do you want to bring into the business? What is your incoming lead count goal through Lead Connect? Whether it's live transfers or third parties or quoters or inbound inquiries, like how many leads do you want to have coming in each week? What is your goal for the number of phone dials that you'll make each week? Outbound phone dials drive our business. Unfortunately, I think too many of you are sitting on your haunches waiting for live transfers to come into you, and you're not aggressively doing outbound dialing. I would encourage you, outbound dialing is what really drives the business. And I would tell any new agent getting started, I think you should be at a minimum of 250 outbound dials a week. That standard hasn't changed for the last 25 years that I've been in the business. New agents who are getting up and started and are grinding, you've got people to call, you've got follow-ups to do, you've got incoming leads you need to follow up with. You should have, walk and talk follow-ups to do. You should have all kinds of follow-ups that can be done. And I think in those follow-ups, you want to do it in a way where you're, certainly not pestering people, but you're persistent in what you're doing. We have a whole process, a process for working a lead that I think most of you have. I'll share it again with you, but it's really a 10-step approach over a 14-day time frame. And I think you've just got to work through that process. But if you're working through that process, every lead that's coming in, you're going to have multiple touches, multiple ways that you're going to try to be connecting with them, to at least connect and find out if they're interested in your services. But I think this is one thing where a lot of agents fall down is the number of phone dials that they're actually making. I think when you ramp that up, overall activity increases. What's your weekly appointment count goal for the week? I think it needs to be a bare minimum of six. If you're not getting in front of at least six prospective clients on a weekly basis, you're going to find tremendous difficulty making this business work and having enough transactions to become proficient and get you to tier two status and beyond. So those are two numbers that I would put out there as a minimum of 250 phone dials and a minimum of six appointments on a weekly basis. What is your FYCR goal? I've had several agents reach out to me and just ask me some questions around setting these goals. I would say you need to have a bare minimum FYCR weekly goal of 1,000. If you're not writing 1,000 FYCRs of new business every single week, you're never going to get to tier two status. 1,000 FYCRs a week over the course of a 52-week year will get you to tier two status. But I think that kind of needs to be the baseline of what you're trying to accomplish. And candidly, if you don't get it one week, you need to make up for it the next week if you're trying to hit some sort of a goal. So there are weeks where we have a slow week and then, it all kind of comes to fruition the next week. All that work we did, deals start coming in the next week, and that's okay too. There is an ebb and flow to the business, but I think that's really important. What is your cross-sell percentage goal? So when we think about cross-sell percentage, what I'm asking you is how many additional products are you going to sell for every health insurance or Medicare enrollment that you do? So if you're 100% cross-sell, that means you're going to sell one ancillary or life insurance product for every base health insurance product that you sell. If you're 200%, that means you're going for two. If you're 300%, you're going for three. So it boils down to how many additional supplemental insurance and life insurance products are you trying to sell alongside each core medical? And I think that has to be something that you focus on, not only for your own income and your FYCR accumulation, but to properly protect the clients that we're serving. Most of these plans that we're talking about have enormous gaps and holes in them. And I'm a big believer that for every product, every health insurance product that we're presenting, we should be quoting a $10,000 critical guard, a $10,000 accident wise, a $10,000 hospital wise, all guaranteed issue, and then a vision and dental plan. If you were to sell those four products, that would be a 400% cross sell. I will tell you that most successful agents average between 250 and 300% cross sell, which that means they're selling two and a half to three additional products for every health insurance or Medicare sale that they actually make. The other thing that's really important from those cross sell sales is that that's where your advances are going to be generated from. So some of you are struggling with cash flow right now. If you're struggling with cash flow, you've got to get your advances flowing. You've got to get out there and start executing transactions when it comes to supplemental insurance and life insurance because those products, have a 6 to 12 month advance on them that is paid as soon as that policy is fed into the system and the deal's consummated. So, I think about that. Some of you think you're doing quite well because you're just enrolling a lot of people in ACA plans, and that is a base income level that you can, build over time. And I wouldn't dispute that when you get to 100 members on the books, you've got a pretty good residual revenue stream coming in from that. But that does not give you cash up front to survive. What gives you the cash up front is the advances, which come from selling supplemental insurance and life insurance. And so I think part of this is not trying to sell something that clients don't need. It's just having a really good process when you get in front of those clients, making sure that you're engaging in a fact-finding experience and that you're presenting and showing the products 100% of the time you meet with those consumers. That's really, really important. A lot of you who do need cash flow right now, your cash flow is going to come from cross-selling because the supplements in life are what generate, those significant advances. And that's, in the beginning, you got to live on advances if you need cash flow. And then what is your minimum goal for weekly points on the PTS? I would tell you that anybody who is really going after this and still struggling should probably be pushing 800, 900, even 1,000 points a week. That's not impossible to do. I'm going to ask Steve to go through the performance tracker spreadsheet. I don't know if we'll get to it today or maybe next week, but I want to do a little bit deeper dive into that, how you guys can actually leverage that tool. That's a tool that's been honed and refined over 20 years, and it's available to you if you just are diligent about building a plan and then executing to the plan. All goes back to, do you have a cookbook and are you executing that cookbook to design? Um, I think then as you kind of work through some of the other questions here, I do think it's important to understand how much money or income you need to survive financially. What's that survival number on a monthly basis? And then begin to kind of, build out your plans. So if you guys haven't done this yet, or if you have done it, but you did it 2 or 3 months ago, it's time to revisit it and look at it. Maybe it needs to be redone because you find that you're not able to hit the goals that you're hitting or that you set out. Maybe it needs to be tweaked in some way. Maybe it's exactly what it needs to be. You just need to start doing the work to hit the activity levels. Right now, more than anything, it's about activity. And again, scheduling appointments, running appointments, marketing your business. And I think your 40 plus hours a week have to ebb and flow between those three things. If you've got 10 or 12 or 15 client meetings or appointments in a week, you don't have to do as much dialing or marketing. But if you've only got 2 or 3 appointments in a week, you've got to be dialing your butt off and marketing your butt off. That's where you've got to spend the rest of your time so that you have clients and prospects to talk to in future dates. I go back to the reality that I think getting a business started, like I said in the beginning, is hard. It is not an easy thing, but it's worth it. It is worth it once things begin to roll. And Cav talks a lot about embracing the suck. There is a certain season where it's not fun work that you're doing. We're not digging ditches or roofing houses, but it's not fun work that you're doing. Marketing, dialing the phones, holding yourself accountable to hitting certain, metrics on a weekly basis is not fun. But I think you've got to really break it down and say, okay, what do I have to do each day? And then at the end of the day, hold yourself accountable. Did I hit my points? Did I hit my 100 to 200 points this week? Depending on what you're trying to accomplish. This can be very scientific if you choose to make it so. I just think way too many people shoot from the hip. One other piece that I want to share with you is another piece that I think goes in tandem with the goals and game plan, and it's the map of life. You guys have heard me and seen me talk about this. I believe that every one of us has to be very, very diligent about building our schedule and sticking to a schedule. A couple things about scheduling that I would share. Number one, you can't multitask well, and neither can I. It is a proven fact that humans do not multitask well. And so I'm a huge believer that you have to block time. You have to do time blocking so that you're focusing on one task for at least a period of time before you move on to something else. I'm a big believer that as you're looking at your weekly schedule, you've got to build in your personal stuff first. So whatever personal obligations you have, put those on the schedule because whatever your spouse needs you to do, your kids need you to do, church activities, other commitments you have, build those in first. And then you have to dissect the time that you have left into two categories, phone work and field work. Phone work is primarily working the phones. It's taking incoming live transfers. If those live transfers aren't flowing, it's making outbound phone dials, sending emails, walk and talk follow-ups, all the different things that are, required to reach out to connect with someone in hopes that you can schedule an appointment with them to talk about their insurance needs. So that phone work, I'm a big believer that you want to have that scheduled exactly when you're going to do that. I think bare minimum of 2 hour blocks for that, maybe 4 hour blocks would be appropriate. And you've got to have those times on your schedule when those are your dialing times. If you have the ability to, I think it's great to have some phone work time blocks, at least 1 or 2 evenings a week, and possibly on Saturday and even on Sunday if you're willing to do that. We have a lot of agents who have tremendous success reaching people on Saturdays and Sundays when they can't reach them the rest of the week. And so if you can allocate some time, nights and weekends when people aren't working, to try to connect with them and do the follow-up calls and all of that, I think that's very appropriate. The other block of time you've got to then build into your schedule is the field time. And when I think about field time, I'm thinking about running appointments with clients and I'm thinking about marketing my business. And that whole marketing aspect takes on a whole, I mean, there's a whole lot to that, right? It's a matter of how do you want to go about that? What do you want to do to market your business? How are you going to get your information out to people? When I think about the things that have worked most successfully for me over the years, and what I've seen successful agents do, a couple of things come to mind. First of all, networking. If you're not involved in at least 1 or 2 networking events a week, you should figure out how to do that. One great opportunity is something called BNI. If you guys aren't familiar with BNI, it's Business Network International. They are a organization that has chapters and groups all over the country, and you can connect with them. I'm going to share my screen here. This is their website, bni.com. You guys can actually go here. You can look up chapters in your area. You can go visit them at no cost and decide if you want to get involved. And then if you decide to get involved, you're getting involved in a business group of other business owners. Typically, they don't allow 2 insurance professionals in the same group, but you're working then alongside these other business professionals, meeting with them at least once a week and sharing referrals with each other. So I think BNI is a wonderful way to get involved in networking. Get involved with your local Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber of Commerce hosts a lot of different events. I know in our February territory meeting, we had Chris Howell come in. And if you haven't watched it, his talk is on our YouTube channel that he gave for our team, just about how he has really entrenched himself in his own local community. A very small community, Franklin, Tennessee, that he lives in, a very small town, but he has become the go-to there and the expert, the subject matter expert there by how he's positioned himself in just a couple of short years. Chris Hall has a great story to tell. I'd encourage you guys to go back and watch that on the YouTube channel. Um, and think about other events too, like SHRM. I think it's Society of HR Managers. Anywhere you can get involved with other people who might serve as centers of influence or someone that can refer business to you, I think you've got to get out there and do that. If you're in a larger metropolitan area, these types of opportunities maybe are a little more prevalent. If you're in smaller communities, you might have to dig a little bit harder. There's a website out there called meetup.com. Not a dating website, but it's different events that are happening in your local area, so that you can begin to get out there, wear your jersey, leave a trail, let people know who you are and what you're doing, and just become a presence in that local community. So from a networking perspective, I think that's something you could do right now. Another thing you should be keeping your eyes out for is where can you set up a booth? So whether it's different types of senior expos, we're going to have county fairs coming up this summer. There's all types of opportunities, little festivals in towns where you can actually set up a health markets booth and you can be there and you can engage with the general public and you can start to build your brand and build your name. I think as it gets warmer out, this is definitely something worth spending a little bit of time on and trying to figure out how can I get out there and get in front of people and have conversations that might lead to me being able to help them with their insurance needs. Too many of you, I think, are probably sitting behind your desk in your home office and just not getting out there. Now that it's getting warmer, I would push you hard. Get out there in the community, set things up, figure out ways that you can get involved, and just figure out how to get out there with your and wear your jersey and leave a trail. I'll talk a little bit about what I believe is probably the single most aggressive way of building your practice. And I will tell you, if I was starting from scratch right now, what I would be doing is I would be walking and talking into small business America. That's what I did 25 years ago to start my business, and I don't think it's changed at all. In fact, I think people are as receptive as ever to someone stopping in and dropping off some information and then doing a robust follow-up process. When I think about walking and talking, it's very simple. I'm walking into small businesses. I'm trying to drop off a marketing piece Anything on marketing demand will do. Postcards, take ones, business cards. There's trifolds in there if you want to spend a little bit more money. A lot of ways you can get your information out, but it just needs to be something who tells them who you are and what you do and your contact information. The goal, though, is to walk into a business, drop off that information, and pick up a business card and move along. I never have felt that I wanted to interrupt somebody's day. I want to walk into that business and be very non-intrusive. I don't have an appointment. I'm not actually asking for an appointment. I'm just trying to drop off information and move along. Now, there are times where someone is going to engage with you, and that's okay too. I think you've got to know what you're going to say in those types of settings. I don't try to engage with them. I don't wait for someone. I don't ask for the business owner. I'm dropping off some information for your business. Let me know if I can help. I'm trying to pick up a business card and move on. However, if somebody does engage me and says, "Can I help you?" You've got to have a response to that, right? And my response would be, "Yes, my name is Silas, and I own a local health and life and Medicare insurance agency. I'm just dropping off some information about our health insurance programs for small businesses. Um, Please let us know if we can help you in any way." And I'm trying to move along. I'm not trying to sit there and have a sustained conversation with them. And I will say, if this person's really interested, they're like, "Hey, I need your help." Okay, I'm going to stop and have a good, intelligent conversation with them and try to get an appointment book or a time to call them back later in the day. But it's just getting out there and leaving a trail and letting people know who you are. And I think Small Business America is probably the best place that you can actually do that. I'd also tell you that I don't think there's anything wrong with walking and talking the same businesses, the same towns, the same strip malls every 30 to 60 days. People will get to know you. There will be different people in there at different times of day, different reasons that they might need to talk to you. But I think that's a really, really great way of getting out there. Now, the big part of this is as you're doing the walk and talk, you're also picking up business cards, right? Trying to grab as many business cards as you can. Um, I'm a big believer that you're not going to get business cards in every single walk and talk that you do, and that's okay. If you do 100 walk and talks, you're probably going to have 55 or 60 business cards from that. You're going to have 40 or 45 that they didn't have a business card, it wasn't easily available, there wasn't anything there. You still did the work and dropped off information. But if you're not grabbing a business card, it's really hard to do follow-up. But the business cards that you do grab, my suggestion would be that you have a process in place to follow up with them. And I think there's a couple of steps to this process. Number one, you need to get them into your CRM. So that's a manual data entry process, right? To put them in as a new lead. Number two, the beginning of the next week, I think you should do a follow-up call. And it's a very simple follow-up call. "Hi, Ray. My name is Silas, and I stopped by your business last Wednesday afternoon. I actually dropped off information about health insurance programs for small business owners. I'm a local insurance agent, and I was just stopping by to drop off information and following up to see if you guys are happy with your current health insurance situation." I'm trying to ask as many people as I can that question. Are you happy with your current health insurance situation? Are you happy with your current health insurance situation? Because when they respond to that, they're going to respond in one of two ways. Yes, we're happy, or no, we're not. Obviously, if the answer is no, we're not, well, that's great. I help small business owners like you. Typically, what I like to do is I like to gather some information so I can do some shopping for you, and then I like to meet by appointment, either in person, by telephone, or via Zoom, to go over some ideas and recommendations with you. Would you be interested in taking a few minutes with me to give me some details so I can do some shopping for you? Simple. If they say yes, we're happy with our current health insurance situation, that doesn't mean it's a dead end, though. I think the follow-up question then needs to be, "Well, Ray, would it be okay if I followed up with you this fall around the open enrollment season? That's the time of year where everybody can make changes and there might be some volatility for 2027. Would you be okay if I follow up with you around, October to see if I can help you at that point in the year?" A lot of people are like, "Yeah, sure, follow up with me then." And now you're building follow-up calls in your CRM for downstream, and those follow-up calls are coming due at a time when you can actually do something for them, right? They're entering into that open enrollment, annual enrollment season. So I think that's a really important piece of it is that follow-up call. I would also recommend that you put together an email. It can be a template that you're using, but an email that's a walk and talk follow-up email. And it's just kind of the same verbiage. "Hey, Alan, my name's Silas. I stopped by your business." I always like to say I stopped by your business last Wednesday afternoon or last Tuesday morning or whenever I did that. And part of the reason for that is because I want to set the stage that I walked into their business. I truly am local, and they're going to be like, "Oh, yeah, that was that guy that dropped off something last week." And if there's a need, hopefully it will spark something. So I think following up with an email the next week. So a phone call and email. And the last piece is to send them a direct mail. And when I say direct mail, I'm talking about any of the marketing flyers. There's all kinds of things on the Resource Center on marketing on demand that you could use. I'd say pick one that you like. I would want it to be kind of generic. What I mean by that is I wouldn't want it just about vision and dental or just about life insurance. I'd want it to be about, health insurance, Medicare, like our whole portfolio. Um, but what I would then do is I would take that business card, which I no longer need because I've captured their information in my CRM, and I'd staple that business card to the front of that solicitation, and I would mail it to the consumer, to that person that I walked and talked last week. So you think about this. If you're doing this process right, you're walking into that business, showing your face and dropping off information, picking up a business card. You're getting them into your CRM towards the end of the week. And then the next week, you're making a follow-up phone call, you're sending a follow-up email, and you're sending a follow-up direct mail with their business card attached to the front of it. Now, why do I attach their business card to the front of it? Because it's a pattern interrupt. If they open that up and their business card is the first thing they see, I promise you they're going to do a double take and look a little closer at whatever it is that you're actually sending them. But you think about the power. If you would do this 100 times a week, I will tell you, it's not difficult to walk into 100 businesses in a week. People think that'll take you forever. It really won't. I mean, a half a day, you can walk into 100 businesses, drop off information, and try to pick up a business card. But if you did that 100 times in a week and you got, let's just say half of them, you got 50 business cards out of that. Now you've got 50 people to follow up with the next week. On top of that, you just put 50 people into your database. Now you're going to start drip marketing on those people that are in your database so that when their trigger event happens, hopefully you're the person that they think about. You're starting to build this foundation of communication with people who you would like to do business with, small business America. I would always say that's probably some of the best clients we have are self-employed small business owners, people running their own successful practices. So I think about this walk and talk process. I go back to if I was a brand new agent or a struggling agent right now, this is the one thing that I would do. And I would be spending a full day to a day and a half a week field work out there doing this. Something else I'll mention is while you're doing these walk and talks, you can also be keeping your eye out for community boards because community boards are a wonderful place to not only put your information up, but to capture information for other small business owners who are advertising in that community. There's no reason why you can't stand at that community board with your phone and take picture after picture after picture of every card that's on there and do a very similar type of follow-up. Now, my approach with that client, I would take that consumer, I would put them into my CRM, I'd put them in as a community board because I know that's where I got their information, but I would do the same type of follow-up process. So I'm going to call them on Monday. I'm going to say, hey, Jim, I actually stumbled across your card at the 7-Eleven on the north side of Elkhart last week. It looked like you're a self-employed small business owner. I actually own a local health and life and Medicare insurance business, and I just wanted to follow up with you and see if there's anything that I could do to help you with your health insurance or life insurance or Medicare needs. That's it. I'm going to send a very similar type of email follow-up, and then I'm going to send that direct mail with their business card attached to it again because I've captured their information. So you think about where you're going to see community boards, grocery stores, gas stations, restaurants, laundromats, apartment complexes. There's all types of places where those community boards exist. Where small business, I live in Middlebury, Indiana, and I can think of three pretty significant community boards in my community where I've done that before. And my information is always hanging up there. Actually, a couple of years are too. I saw Justin Wired's and I saw Tanya's in Middlebury. So welcome to Middlebury. You guys came and visited and didn't even tell me hi, but you did leave your cards, which I really like. Um, so those are just some thoughts of things you guys can be doing. And I'll tell you, like, part of this is a mental game. And getting stuck in your home office, trying to take live transfers and dealing with people who are transient clients, that you're closing 1 out of 5 that are coming in, like, I don't know. Like, I wouldn't be in a very good mental state if that's what I was doing 40 hours a week. I've got to get out. I've got to go have lunch with people. I've got to go do things. I've got to go market. So you start thinking about things that you can do to really get out there. And really at its core, it boils down to how many people are you going to get your information to, this week? I mean, that's what it boils down to. And then each day, what are you going to do? When's your phone work? When's your field work? And what are you going to get done during those particular times? So many of us feel that we're working in the business, and it is easy to work in the business without getting anything done. And that's part of the struggle of being self-employed small business owners. we don't get paid unless we're executing transactions, right? If you're asking me what it takes to be successful in this business, I'll tell you a couple of things. Work hard and get 1,000 FYCRs a week. I mean, that's what it boils down to. If you can start doing that consistently, you're going to start getting some traction. Things are going to begin to roll. Um, a couple of last things I wanted to share with you. And Cav, I think we're going to punt PTS till next week. Is that all right? Because I do want to tie this conversation together with some of the tools that we have available to you. But one of the things that I had done, and we actually just got compliance approval on this here recently, and we're working through getting it in a format that we can push it out to all of you. But I had shared with you guys the new agent cookbook that I had worked on with several other sales leaders and kind of put together some ideas around, what it takes to be successful in the business and different paths that you can travel down. What I want to reference here kind of in the last few minutes is some case studies that I had put together that I had shared with you guys several months ago. But this particular case study here um, is a gentleman by the name of Matt Tallman. Many of you know him and love him or hate him. We love him. But this is an example of someone who came into the business and really followed what I would call a hybrid path. Matt was focused on leads, but he also did a lot of grassroots local marketing. Um, at the end of 2025, Matt was a tier four agent with 360,000 rolling 12-month FYCRs. And he began selling back in 2018. So he's about 8 years into the business. But in the beginning, he worked internet leads and data leads pretty heavily for the first 6 months. I would tell you if you're working leads and you need people to call, take live transfers, but take all the other forms of leads that are in the system as well. Some of those data leads or internet leads, they're not as high a quality, they're not as high a closing ratios, but they are people for you to follow up with. They're people for you to build your database with, and it's activity. And I promise if you do the activity, results will come from that. Um, but as I looked at some of the things that Matt actually did, um, he did a lot of paper box stuffs and walk and talks locally. So he was walking talking to small businesses, and then when appropriate, he would leave a marketing piece in people's paper boxes, not their mailboxes, their paper boxes. He engaged with Facebook posts and boosts. If you're not engaged with social media, I think you should figure that out, both on LinkedIn and on Facebook. Just it doesn't cost anything, just starting to build your profile out and starting to post things a little bit more regularly. Right now, I'm on a cadence. We're trying to post 3 things a week on social media, on LinkedIn and Facebook. And I've been in that cadence for a while. Um, he did birthday and turning 65 postcards. He did ink pens with his logo to distribute. He purchased Target Leads. So what Target Leads are is this is a company that does direct mails to Medicare beneficiaries. I think that's a wonderful way as you get into the Medicare space to potentially reach out to Medicare clients. Some of you are doing that through marketing on demand. That's really great as well. He did annual holiday cards to his book of business. He wrapped his tailgate. One way that he advertises is his truck. He's got a beautiful GMC truck, and it's wrapped with all of his health markets logoed information on it. Um, he did a lot of advertisements and bulletins and golf courses and country clubs and at Kroger, did all kinds of things there. Now that took some investment of money, not so much time. He did a lot of sponsorships though, and then he got into radio and television ads. So these were some things that really drove Tallman, towards tier four status. I had some other things, and a lot of these are from Kevin McIntyre. So I go back to that center of influence letter. If you haven't done that, you should. There's no reason that you should hold back from sending out the COI letter. It's on marketing on demand. You can send that out to people who know you, like you, and would like to see you be successful, just to let them know what you're doing and what your capabilities are and to ask for their referral. I think it's a good idea to send that letter now with the idea that you're going to send it again late summer, early fall as we approach AEP, OEP to the same people, maybe with a little different message. But it takes some planning to do that, and it takes some execution to get those letters put together. Um, Kevin McIntyre took 10 to 20 internet leads weekly, and then took Medicare Live transfers. He leveraged social media. He posted on Facebook weekly, sponsored water cups in the local coffee shop, and sat in that coffee shop buying customers coffee for an hour. He sponsored billboards. He ran ads in the coffee news. He did the Kroger shopping carts as well. He was the first one that actually did that. He's been a constant fixture at the local county fair. So if you have any aspirations of setting up for the fair, do it. Like you got to figure that out now though, because you can't do it last minute. He sent thank you cards to all of his clients. He purchased Turning 65 leads once he got into Medicare. He did outreach and engagement with financial planners and P&C insurance agents and accountants and CPAs and attorneys. I think this is something else that you can, really do too. As you're walking and talking, Target, Edward Jones, and State Farm, and all state insurance agencies, all of these P&C insurance agencies, and all of these financial planners. Walk in, introduce yourself, tell them what your capabilities are, and leave some business cards behind. That's part of that walk and talk process. Um, and then the other individual that I had highlighted here was Carrie Hunter, because Carrie Hunter did a lot of local things. She connected locally with non-for-profits. She reached out to human resource departments and asked, if she could help any of their employees. She worked with financial planners and tax accountants. She also leveraged social media and posted weekly on Facebook and LinkedIn. She walked and talked into small businesses to drop off information, collect business cards, and executed a walk and talk follow-up process. Also in the coffee news. Ended up in a storefront pretty early in her career. Hosted booths at local health fairs and county fairs every year. She joined the Chamber of Commerce, partnered with Council on Aging, and asked where and how she could volunteer. She partnered with local insurance navigators and got involved with the local food pantries. She averaged about 200 outbound texts and dials per week to leads and incoming requests. So she just did a lot of different things to begin to build her business. And I show you these again because I really think there's something in the fact that people who found success in this business have figured out how to grind in the business for a season. And, it's not all leads that have driven them. A lot of it is other types of marketing activities that we try to teach and train on semi-regularly. I would tell you this is the time of year where it's actually warm, it's nice. Get out at least a day a week, if not a day and a half a week, and start engaging with small business owners, wearing your jersey and leaving a trail. I know there's a lot of different things we've talked about today, but I'm hopeful that this conversation kind of sparks some of you to get out of your house, get out of your office, go out there and engage and let people know who you are and what you do. This is a hot topic. The business that we're in and the products that we represent, people need what we do. But it's just a matter of getting out there and letting them know. And as you do that, it'll begin, you'll feel this groundswell begin to happen. More and more people will start lining up. More and more people will start, reaching out to you. And more direct activity responses will bubble to the surface. We'll talk about what that looks like on the PTS a little bit. But Cav, with the couple minutes that we have left, do you have anything that you would like to add to my commentary from today or any additional clarity or thoughts you have?
Well, I just, as I was listening to you, it just kept popping into my head. Are you treating this as if you're an employee or are you a business owner? Because employees, they sit around and they kind of wait for things to happen. They're kind of used to being told what to do. Where business owners realize they got to make it happen. And so I totally agree. I mean, you've got to be well-rounded where I think you need to invest in some internet leads. I think you need to do live transfers, but you have got to spend some time out in the field and just letting people know that you're in business, and start building that organic local presence because that's not going to happen unless you do it. You're never going to build a local practice on buying leads because first of all, there's not enough leads to generate in your given area. And so if you just don't want to be kind of a call center sitting on your computer all day long, because I mean, there are people that do that in our business, but they spend thousands and thousands of dollars on leads and they're getting hundreds of leads in each week. That is an option. But for most people, that's an option they can't do because they can't afford it. And we also find a lot of people who do it that way eventually burn out. Because I just think if you sit on your computer all day and you're just dialing leads and stuff, you can't do that for the next 20 years. But when you start going out and building that organic local business and all of a sudden people start calling you and they're not in Georgia, they're not in Florida, they're down the street, That's when this business starts to get really fun. And as you continue to build that up, you don't have to rely as much on the other stuff. Now, I still take leads, but I take five to 10 a day just to kind of stay in the rhythm. But it's not my primary source of business. My primary source of business now are referrals and people finding me on the internet. It takes a while to get to that point, and that's why Silas said earlier, you got to embrace the suck. Now, here's the thing about the suck. Everybody that starts this business is going to go through something that just sucks. It's going to be different for other people, but here's the thing. You get to determine how long you stay there. If you just rely on leads, you're going to be there for a long, long time. If you go out and you start walking into 100 businesses a week, you start gathering those business cards, you do paperback, you don't stay in the suck as long because all of a sudden your phone will start ringing and people will be reaching out to you. And I will tell you, when people start calling you, your close rate for an appointment on that is almost 100%. When people call and say, "Hey, Ray, I need to talk to you," how hard is it going to be to set an appointment with people like that? Versus calling an internet lead where you're the 50th person to call them and they're not even looking. So I'm just saying, for those of you who kind of are in the grind right now, the suck, the only way you're going to get out of it is you have got to get out in the field and start generating some things yourself. You got to start building your Google reviews. You got to start doing some other things to slowly make that transition from lead dependent to referral slash people calling me. That's what self-employed people do. Employees sit on their butts all day and just wait for something to happen. You guys are better than that. You guys have no idea the kind of income you can unlock here. But again, it's not a get rich quick scheme, but it's something that for a lot of people on our team, it's generational wealth that we never thought we could achieve. It's there for all of you. You all have the same tools. Why do some people make it and some people don't? And I'll go back to, I guess he's a leader of us now, Troy McQuaig. He's kind of a couple people up, but he used to be the leader for Silas and I. It's not that people can't do this business, it's they won't do this business. It's your choice, guys. Success is 100% your responsibility. It's not going to be easy, but I'm telling you, it's worth it. When you can get to the point where you have enough money coming in from just your commissions where you don't have to worry about paying bills anymore, and now you can start thinking about paying cash for your kids' education, paying cash for $100,000 home remodel project like we just did. That's what this, I mean, we're going to do another 30,000 for the landscaping now, and we're just paying it. Why? Because 29 years ago, I answered an ad in the paper, and Zane, they used to advertise in the paper. I know you don't even know what a newspaper is, but that's okay. I was just hoping to make 50 grand a year to replace my wife's income. I never dreamed I would be where I am now. Did it suck at times? Yes. But man, I'm going to tell you what Vern Hurley, who was my sales leader when I started, when I almost quit, he said, "Steve, it's hard, but it's worth it." And so that's what I'm sharing to you guys now. This business sucks at first, but if you can figure it out, it is so worth it.
Agreed.
All I got.
100% agreed. So next week, we're gonna spend a little more time taking some of these ideas that we've thought about and or talked about today and say, how can you really track this well? What are the tools available to you? I think I would encourage all of you to go back to your goals and game plan and your map of life, figure out what you've got to do, build a plan. Just figure out what you're going to do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then start executing on it. We'll try to give you some tools next week, or at least rehash some of the tools that are available that we've built out over the years that we think do a really good job. But it takes a little bit of work on your part. But again, it's worth it. So I appreciate y'all being here. I've got to get to an 11:30 lunch, so I can't go over too long today. But thank you guys for joining. I hope you all have a great week. Cal, appreciate your insights. Take care, everybody. See ya.